In lesson 1-10, we're going to solve equations using the division and multiplication properties of equality. So like addition and subtraction, they are inverse operations of each other. Multiplication and division are also inverse operations of each other. So if we take a look at the properties of equality, if we have 12 equals 12, again, thinking back to um, our teeter-totter here, we want to keep that flat and level and equal. And so if you divide one side by 4, you have to divide the other side by 4. So 12 divided by 4 equals 3, and you have to do 12 divided by 4 equals 3 on the other side as well. Taking a look at the algebra example here, 5 times x equals negative 60. Well, in order to get the x by itself, we must divide by the coefficient. The coefficient of x is 5, so divide by 5. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. Okay, the reason why we do that is because this 5 divided by 5 will turn into 1. And we know that 1 times x equals x. Again, that's our identity property of multiplication. So instead of writing 1 times x, all you have to do is write x equals negative 12 rather than 1 times x. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of these. This first one, I see that the coefficient of z is 7. Again, the focus is on how do I get my variable by itself. So to undo this multiplication, I need to divide by the coefficient, which is 7. Whatever I do to one side, remember your teeter-totter, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, divided by 7. Notice how I'm showing the work here, okay? When I solve equations, I don't say divided by 7. Okay, that's not how you show the work for this. You don't ever write problems 7 divided by 7. You don't ever show it like that. Okay, that's how you do addition and subtraction problems or multiplication problems, but you do not show division like this. Okay, that's just not the proper way to do it. So whenever we solve equations, you should write the division bar kind of like a fraction bar. All right, now right away these 7's cancel, okay, because this is going to be a 1 and this is going to be a 1. If I have 7 divided by 7, that equals 1. Okay, now the identity property says that 1 times z equals z. So I don't have to write 1z. These will cancel and I get z. All right, now like before, in the addition and subtraction equations, you are canceling it to 0, because remember the identity property of addition is 0. The identity property of multiplication is 1. So we're not turning this to 0, we're turning them to 1. 1 times z is z. All right, now think of your dividing integers lesson. We have 1 negative, so we know the answer will be negative, and 49 divided by 7 is 7. Okay, of course you want to check this problem. Throw it in your calculator. You're going to do 7 times negative 7, and you should get negative 49, and that's a good way to check your answers. Okay, so this one, we need to divide by the coefficient of y, which is 6. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, the 6's will turn into 1's, so 1y equals y. All right, 66 divided by 6 is going to be 11, and that is our solution. Okay, you want to check it. You do 6 times 11 equals 66, and it works. All right, again, this is your solution, but it doesn't do us any good to know our solution without showing the work. You have to show this work. You can't just divide this by 66. You have to do both. Remember our teeter-totter. All right, if we divide by 6 over here, you have to do it over here, or otherwise we're going to get unbalanced. All right, so now here again we have to divide by the coefficient. Now take a look here. The coefficient is negative. So in order, if we look over here, if I did negative 5 divided by 5, remember I'm going to get negative 1. Now I don't want to solve and get negative 1. I want to get 1 because the identity property says that 1 times a letter equals the letter. The identity property does not say negative 1 times a letter equals a letter. All right, if I did negative 1 times a, I would get negative a. Right? I don't want that. I want to solve for a, not negative a. So you have to divide by the coefficient. So if the coefficient includes a negative, you have to divide by a negative coefficient. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we also divide by a negative coefficient. Now, something that we want to pay attention to, okay, the negatives, they cancel because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. The 5s, they cancel. So now we get 1a, which is a. It's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Now we're dividing by one negative. Okay, there's not one up here. So we know the answer is going to be negative. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And that is our solution. Okay, it's just really important that if you have a negative coefficient, you must also divide by a negative integer. Okay, now if you multiply each side of the equation by the same number, the two sides remain equal. Again, the whole idea here is we're talking about that teeter-totter, and we have got to keep it balanced. Whatever you put over here, you have to put the same thing over here. All right, so what this says is 5 equals 5. So if you multiply by negative 4 on the left, you have to multiply by negative 4 on the right in order to maintain equality. All right, so take a look here. It says the letter C divided by 9 equals negative 6. All right, again, my focus is on this side because this is where my letter is. Now, how do I undo division? What's the opposite of division? Well, the opposite of division would be multiplication. All right, now I want to multiply by 9. All right, if I multiply by 9, and this is how I'd like you to show the work, okay? If we have a division bar like this, right to the left of it, so if you're writing it in your notebook, you want to give yourself some room. So let's say this is number 13. All right, we want to write 13, but then you want to start writing right here. You want to move over a little bit. You want to say C divided by 9 equals negative 6. So that way you have enough room to write 9 times that. And then over here you also write times 9. Okay, whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. So again, just give yourself some room, multiply both sides by 9. This is the only time I really like you going left and right, otherwise all your other work has to go vertical down. All right, now the 9s will cancel. Okay, if you were dividing by 9, now we're multiplying by 9 and they cancel. So the only thing I'm left with is C, 1C, which is equal to C. Okay, now I'm multiplying by a negative, so I'm going to have negative 54. Okay, of course, I always encourage you to use your calculator to check your answer. So type in negative 54 and divide by 9, and you will get negative 6, and that will check out for you. Okay, so always check your answers. All right, let's try a couple of these now. It says n divided by 22. So again, my focus is on the side with the variable. All right, you need to do multiply by whatever you're dividing by. All right, then these two things will cancel. But first, we have to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, again, this is going to be really important that you copy this out of the book before you start your problem. All right, so now we cancel these two things. All right, so we get n equal to, now whatever 22 times 27 is. So let's go 27 times 22. All right, we can work that out. Or you can use your calculators. All right, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. All right, now we have a 0 down there. 2 times 7, again, it's 14. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus the 1 is the 5. So we have 4, we have 12, and we have 16. So 624 is our solution for n. Now, again, check this with your calculator, all right? So we're going to take 624, divide it by 22, and that should be equal to 27. Okay, so you can always check that with your calculator. You should know that you're doing it right if you're getting the correct answer to work. All right, now here, what are we dividing by b? B divided by 30, so multiply both sides by 30. All right, the 30s will cancel. I'm left with b is equal to, all right, 30 times 10. Well, 1 times 3 is 3, and then I have 2 zeros, so include your zeros. All right, then again, that's your solution. It's always good to check with your calculator. 300 divided by 30, you know, you're going to cancel the zeros, and 30 divided by 3 is 10, and so it checks out. Okay, always check your solutions with your calculator. Serving English mathematician Edmund Gunter lived around 1600. He invented the chain, which was used as a unit of measure for land and deeds. So kind of like the foot or the yard, he called it the chain. One chain equals 66 feet. So if the south side of a property measures 330 feet, how many chains long is it? Okay, so we have one chain is equal to 66 feet. Okay, we kind of highlight that in our story. And then we have a side measuring 330 feet. So we want to know, you know, if someone was living around the 1600s, you'd say, well, how many chains is that? Okay, so we want to say 330 divided by maybe C, which is the number of chains. Okay, and that is going to give us our 66. Okay, and you know, maybe a better way for us to think about this would be to say 330 divided by 66. Okay, and that's going to equal our chains. All right, that'll be a quicker way for us to solve this one. So if you want to, you can jump on your calculator, do 330 divided by our 66. Okay, and that's going to give us 5 chains. All right, so here there's no equation because of the way we set it up. There's no equation for us to show here. We just go ahead and solve this, and we can say C equals 5 chains. Okay, and we basically set it up all ready, ready to go to solve. Okay, if you wanted to set it up as an equation, probably a better equation for us than rather than the first one I showed would be the 330 equals 66 times C. Okay, so 66 feet times the number of chains. Then we can divide both sides by 66. Notice we already did that. Basically, we set up our problem to do that. Okay, we get here, we go C equals 5. All right, but we just basically set our problem up. And if you can see that in word problems, if you can set them up already ready to solve, don't worry about showing the extra work. But if you do set them up as an equation, then you need to show your work and how you're getting the correct answer. And if it's a word problem, always be sure to include your units.